Freddie Lee Wilson.
Don't be saying all that.
Welcome to Connected. I'm glad to have you here on the show. As you know, we are here to talk a little bit about Freddie Lee.
Okay.
Freddie Lee's spirituality.
Okay.
Freddie Lee's success.
Okay.
So, tell me, who is Freddie Lee?
Who is Freddie Lee? I guess I'm a couple of things like most people. I'm a husband. I've been married for almost 18 years.
Beautiful.
I'm a father. I got 4 wonderful daughters that range from 24 to 7. I am a professional. I'm a businessman. I own Kairos Intelligence Solutions. I've been in business about 16 years.
Okay.
I am an IT professional. I've been in IT for as long as I can remember, a long time. So I'm a cybersecurity architect. I'm a nerd. And I think I'm a person who's favored by my connection to the universe. Okay.
What's success to you?
Success to me, so it depends. Success is a couple of things. I have a monetary goal. I am, Black in America, so we've been trained or conditioned to have numbers, right? We've been given these plateaus. So I have a plateau in my head. That's success. And then I have my life. My kids not hating me, my wife, not hating me, valuing me. People who want to have conversations with me like you, having good friends, that's success as well. My financial goals, I got a number, $7 million after taxes.
Okay, there's the number, guys. $7 million is the number of success.
After taxes. After taxes, right?
Absolutely.
And then, when I die, having people who celebrate my life, who are happy that I cross their path.
Now, you said your wife values you, as well as your children. There's a lot of companies that value you as well.
Absolutely.
In fact, they seek you out and hunt you down and bring you to their domain.
They do.
And why is that?
I have a very unique skill set. As a cybersecurity architect, I've acquired some skills that are pretty valuable today. My job is to make sure that enterprise level architecture, so say you're using an app, we're watching this on some kind of media platform. You want to make sure that the connection between you and that person is secure. If you're putting your information up there, if you're putting your data up there, if you're attaching your credit card, I kind of help companies make sure all that's protected.
Okay.
So they seek me out.
So, cybersecurity professional, architect.
Yes. Sorry for.
We grew up listening to CDs and playing Commodore 64. There was barely an internet. I think AOL, we used to log into AOL.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we didn't grow up saying, I want to be a cybersecurity architect.
Not at all.
What was the first step? How did that come to be about?
I had to have a marketable skill, right? I was broke, couldn't afford my life, couldn't afford my kids. And I was lucky. I had some really good people grab me along the way. I needed to get a skill. I didn't have any skills. I didn't finish school initially. I since have. I didn't finish school initially, so I was kind of walking around the planet without anything I could do that was special from other people. I ended up joining the military. So after I joined the Navy. When
you joined the military, what made that decision? How did you make the decision to join the military?
I was broke. I had a moment where I had to change my life. I seen it as an opportunity to put myself in a different position. I had 2 kids, and I couldn't afford to take care of them. That's the honest truth. And the military gave me an opportunity to change where I was at, change everything around me, right?
But there was a moment when you made that decision. Can we go back to that moment?
Absolutely. I guess I had an aha moment, or I had more like a God spoke to me moment, gave me some direction.
How did God speak to you?
Very plainly. And when I say very plainly, I was having this conversation with my daughter. I think that God probably comes to us. We got this narrative, at least when I was growing up, there was this narrative that when you heard God's voice, it would be some booming white guy's voice, right? And the white guy would tell you something really smart and direct, and you know what I mean? And that wasn't my particular experience. It was my voice, right? It was the voice I trusted the most.
Hey.
It wasn't. It wasn't booming. It was very calm, and it was very direct. It was a message. I literally, I know you've heard this story. I looked over. There was a magnet and the little dry erase board on the refrigerator, and I walked over to it. The voice said, "Get up." I got up. I walked over to it. I wrote what it said to write. What it said. I wrote what it said to write, and I read it, and then I took that away, and I lived by it. I've lived by it since then.
What was that?
Slow is the way of the wise. Pay for your mistakes with time, and prosperity will come onto you. Yeah, slow is the way of the wise. Pay for your mistakes with time, and prosperity will come onto you.
That's heavy.
Yeah, it didn't feel heavy though. It actually felt very relieving at the time.
You said that most people think that, we grow up with this narrative like, the great white God is going to speak to you, and we don't know how it's going to sound. Did you grow up in church?
I did, yeah. I grew up apostolic, so I grew up believing in, the Father. I believed in the Trinity, the Holy Trinity. I believed that you needed to be baptized in the name of Jesus. And I believed that you needed to walk a certain way, think certain things, that, I could give you a whole bunch of generic tropes about Christianity,
right.
But so yes, yeah.
At this moment when God spoke to you in your voice and gave you this mantra, this life mantra, it sounds like, were you still under the influence of apostolic Christianity?
We live in America, so I'm still under the influence of Christianity in a way. Not to say that as a negative thing.
Right.
I think there's values in, a lot of my friends are Christians, and I would say I wasn't practicing as a Christian.
You were not.
I was not practicing as a Christian in the religious terms. In terms of acting like Jesus, I think I was. I think I have been. I try to treat you like I want you to treat me. I try to help people less fortunate.
So what I mean is, we have this impression when you grow up in Christianity of, how God is going to speak to you. But in this moment, there was a little contradiction. So how were you able to recognize that was the voice of God? How did it feel?
So I had these traumatic experiences like most of us have. My experience was I was standing in a room. I was standing in a store holding my daughter in her, the little car seat, the kind you carry around. I didn't have a car, but I was carrying around a car seat. And this is my second daughter, and I'm standing there in this corner store, and I couldn't afford to buy her diapers or food.
Selah.
Yeah, Selah. And I'm struggling with this in my mind, right? And I'm not talking to anybody about it. I'm not telling anybody about it because obviously I'm embarrassed, right? If I was to, I can't ask anybody for help or, because of my situation. And I walk back and I stop at my friend's house and I'm sitting there. And when I heard the voice, it wasn't as an answer to this, because I didn't have a question. You know what I mean? What are you gonna do, or why am I here, or what's the plan? It was nothing like that. It was just it let me know that the situation that I was in, I could change, right? It gave me direction that wasn't just for that particular thing, but that I knew at that moment. I knew, I think it's like knowing right from wrong. If you're doing the wrong thing, whether or not you make a decision up to do the wrong thing anyway, and you justify it some way, right away.
Right,
Yeah, I just knew. I knew it. I felt it. I don't know how else to describe it. I felt it.
So, the mantra comes to you in the voice of God, the voice of Freddie, and you knew at that moment that you needed to go to the military?
No. I knew that I had to pay for my mistakes. Right? Yeah. Slow is the way to wise. Pay for your mistakes with time. Right? Yeah. So I had to pay for my mistakes, which meant I had to do some critical self-analysis, which I'm a big advocate of. We have to be able to look at ourselves and be honest with I'm not this, I'm not that, I am this, I am that. I do have these things that I'm supposed to. I don't do this thing. I'm not on time. I worked on diffused time, right? I don't believe you're supposed to be somewhere at a certain time. But I recognized that this had caused me jobs because I couldn't get there on time. So my path was I need to be working towards a place that doesn't require me to be there on time. I don't want to clock in and clock out because it doesn't work for Freddie, right? I had to recognize that though. I had to be critical about myself. You late, bro? Why you always late?
Right.
And then I had to do something about it. And one of the things, my mentor, he was in the military, super successful guy, super successful family, in my measures of success. He talked to me about how disciplined you had to be to get through the military. So I was like, okay, here's a challenge. Let's see if you can do this.
So was basic training a struggle? How did you? How'd it go at first? Like, what was this?
So I was old when I went in. I was probably 25, 26. Yeah, old. Well, so coming out, it wasn't hard.
You still ain't old.
No, not at all. Relative to some of these kids going in, you got 19-year-olds going in. It wasn't hard because I had, I played sports and I was in shape, and it helped reinforce that. So some of the positive, things. It was easy to stay in shape, get back in shape, because I'm about that life.
It's like a secret fantasy of mine to go through basic training.
It's fun.
Like, is it?
Well, it's not fun. It's not fun in the sense of it is a lot of hard work. You do have to be able to let your ego go because it's going to be somebody in your face screaming at you, trying to make you feel like shit.
Really? It's really like that, like the movies?
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah, 1,000%.
Okay.
Because the idea is you got to let go of your ego. You have to let somebody. You have to. If I got a room full of men who are all testosterone filled, or room full of women, somebody has to lead them, or we're just going to be running up against the wall.
Period.
Somebody has to give them direction. They have to respect you enough to know that you're going to give them good direction, so they'll follow you. But that takes you to have to be a follower too. Like a good leader can listen to the people around them. On fire, follow me. You know what I mean? But I had to humble myself first. So it was another good thing for me that came out of the military, just learning to humble yourself. Now, not to the point where somebody could treat me bad.
Okay.
So
it was a breaking, but to a point.
Yeah, it was a bending.
Not a break.
Yeah,
okay.
The people who break don't make it. You know what I mean? Or they end up staying in there forever.
Did God speak to you while you were in basic training?
A whole lot. I had a lot of time to speak with God because I was by myself a lot, which I think it requires when you tune up. Sometimes you got to be, spend time alone. This is gonna sound crazy, but being away from my friends and family, they literally take you away for at least 9 weeks, so you don't see anybody, But being away from my kids at that point, it was hard, but being selfish was good. We have to figure out how to get ourselves right so we can be a benefit to the people around us.
Right. Especially as a dad, as the man, as the leader.
Yeah.
Of your family.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And at the time I wasn't.
I've never heard a story of a great man, either in real person, in real life, or in the Bible, or anywhere, that didn't have to take that journey all alone. Yeah. And like you said, God spoke to you a lot, just during that time. And do you think that you were fortified with, some of those kind of spiritual things? And when I say spiritual, I don't mean like you turned into a holy man, but, in terms of your morality, in terms of your self-confidence and self-awareness, are those, things that you were fortified with? Or would you say it was something kind of different than that?
No, that's really, wow, that's spot on. Fortified is a great word. When you're standing on, for me, and I imagine men came to this in different situations, men and women, when I say, we come to this in different ways. I was standing off the back of the ship, standing in the rain. If you've never been in the middle of the ocean, it is very awe-inspiring and diminishing at the same time. You feel how, you can feel very, very, very tiny. And then you're on a ship where all the lights are out, so you literally feel like you're standing in the middle of the world, universe.
In the middle of the ocean in the pitch black?
In the pitch black, because you don't want people to see where you're at, so we don't move in the, whatever. That's where so the lights are off, the ship is painted, the color is painted, so we'll just blend in. From a distance, you won't see us.
My God.
Unless we had a light on in the middle of the night, right?
Right.
So you're like, oh, there's somebody.
There you go.
Fire it that way, right? Being in that situation, I remember specifically thinking, even to this day, every time I'm challenged with something that's very hard, I think like, well, if I can do that,
man,
if I can survive that, I can do
anything.
Yeah.
So in the military, that's where you got the skills that took you in a direction to become a cybersecurity architect. Yes.
That's where I got some of them. I had a really good mentor. She helped me understand a couple of things. First, I had to read. She would ask me a question.
Reading is good.
Reading, right. IT1 Salisbury said, she would ask me a question. She was the ship's systems administrator, so she was in charge of all the computer systems on the ship.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. A black woman. And she brought me into her space one day, and she asked me a question. I didn't know the answer. She said, all right, sent me on my way. I came back the next day. She asked me the same thing. She said, didn't I ask you this yesterday? I was like, yes, IT1. And she was like, well, why the fuck don't you know? And she gave me a book, and she said, you don't have any excuse to be ignorant about this stuff because it's in a book. So from that point on, when she asked me something and I didn't know the answer, I went and found the answer. And it became kind of a maturing thing that I've used throughout, my current line of education.
That's a skill a lot of people don't have right now.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't read.
So she encouraged you to read, and apparently in a technical background. You were already in. So you get out the military as a what? With what skills?
I got out the military with networking skills,
computer networking.
Yeah, setting up computer networks, managing computer networks. We were responsible for off-ship communications, so telecommunications, telecom, making sure that I get a message from here to here over multiple different mediums, so meaning different methods.
The next big moment to guide you through your career. How did it happen? What was it?
So I guess I can give you a quick rundown. I went and worked for the Department of Defense after I got out the Navy because my wife said she had enough of me being away. I was working as a systems administrator, and this guy kept saying, "Hey, you should come over and work for me. You should come over and work for me." He was in security assurance, and I'm like, I didn't even know what that was. It sounded boring. I don't want to do that. And he's like, "Nah, you really need to learn this. You need to learn this." Another black man, he was a branch chief at the Department of Defense, an agency at the Department of Defense, and he talked to me about this new emerging technology and the things that they were doing with it, and how it could help me protect our country, how it could help me learn. And he said, "Listen, just go listen to this information. Go to this seminar, and if you like it, let me know." And I did. I learned how to, when you're typing on your keyboard and you send it out, you hit enter and it goes somewhere. I learned how to look at that information as it goes over the wire. If you capture it and decompose it and see what it is, and it fascinated me. So it was like it piqued my interest. And then along the way, I had mentors who told me I needed to get an education, and so I decided to finish my education and get a couple of degrees in the same field. And and then I started doing it for myself. So
It sounds like everything kind of builded on one thing, built on the next thing. But what intrigues me is how you said that was fascinating. And the reason why I say that is because I think that part of the way that we listen to God is to do the things that really tickle us on the inside and make us feel good, regardless of what it is. Yeah. You know, it could be tying bow ties. It could be, shining shoes. But for you, it was looking at the data and kind of decrypting it. And so I think that's interesting. And is that part of what drives you to the next part and the next part and the next part of your career? Or is it something else?
No, absolutely. I think I think I've been fortunate. I've been a very lucky person. I've had really great mentors. So there's a whole host of, and I got people who challenge me, right? I have friends who I compete against. Like we are in active competition.
I have witnessed.
These are all things that contributed to me wanting to pursue the next thing and the next thing. My spirituality is aligned with that, right? I want to be a better person holistically. You know what I mean? I want to make sure that I'm healthy. I want to make sure that I'm that I know things about things that are going on around me. And I think you learn that as you get older. You just keep learning. I don't know. I guess a lifelong learning.
And this is no cap. You at one point in time, I know you to run 5 miles a day.
Yeah.
Your diet. You do not consume beef.
Any meat except fish. I'm a pescatarian.
You're all the way pescatarian?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, I have watched the journey. And how would you say that's contributed to how you feel as Freddie? Like, you say your spirituality makes you want to be a better person holistically. And holistic means, in all of the different types of ways. How would you say that, your diet and getting to where you are has contributed or made you feel as a man?
I think I believe that the more balance you have in your life, that means being healthy. If you have ailments, then you're worried about your ailments, you're thinking about your sickness, you're dealing with your pain. You're not channeling your energy. Even if you're trying to channel your energy, you have these things that are pulling your energy away from that. One way to avoid those things is to be healthy, right? As you know, I got a life goal. You talked about success. Success for me is living to be 120. We'll see.
Hey.
You know what I mean? A life goal. I don't want to get to 120 hurting, decrepit,
right,
not being able to walk, or needing somebody to take care of me. I want to get there on my own power, right? On my own will. I want to tell my body to get up and my body gets up. I want to tell my body to run and my body runs. Having my heart rate up, having my blood pumping through my body, sweating, right? Being connected. I really do think it opens up. It opens your antenna. It opens your antenna up, right? You know what I mean? People might use drugs. People. They just do.
It does the same thing.
It does the same thing.
You sweat. Your heart rate's
right,
up.
Your heart rate goes up. Right.
Okay.
So I do believe that it connects me, to the things around me. You take deeper breaths. You just you're more connected to your environment.
How did you meet your wife?
How did I meet my wife? I was going. My friend and my wife's friend worked at the same location. They were having a Christmas party, or holiday party, whatever. And I wasn't gonna go. I was gonna go meet some other women and do something debaucherous. And my friend was like, "Man, you promised me you was gonna go to this event."
Was he trying to hook you up?
No, he didn't. We
didn't even know.
Didn't even know her. Right? Didn't even know her. But he was whining and complaining, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go. And I'm standing there, and this sounds ridiculous, but I'm standing there getting me something to eat, and I look up, and she's looking at me, and you know how you look at somebody way too long, like it's awkward, and you look away. We didn't look away. Even when it got awkward, I was just like, oh man, what? Like,
Who is that?
She's the most right. She's. And then I went and told my friends, and I said, no, I'm gonna get that one. And my friend told me I couldn't, and all this stuff, for a whole bunch of different reasons. And I'm like, well, I don't feel that way. I don't know, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I go down there and I walk up to her, and she's like, you got a phone? And I'm like, yeah. And she's give it to me, and she takes my phone and she puts her number in it, and we go on a date.
Your life is a movie. I